button. Yeah, so just reiterate that we're recording this call. I'm going to post it to social media so others can watch and kind of learn from this and kind of be aware of what we have in mind for the retreat center for the 1964 Canoas. Thanks everyone for joining us for this visioning empathy circle for a vision for what to do with how to develop the 1964 Canoas Santa Barbara property that Charles purchased. I'm Edwin Rutsch, founding director of the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy, and this is an ongoing series to envision what to do with that property. And we invite others, if anyone from Santa Barbara is watching this, we invite you to contact me. My contact info is in the description below. And if you'd like to take part in one of these future visioning circles, it's really been great to connect with the Santa Barbara community and the neighbors, and really appreciate that, and do want to connect with as many people as we can. Maybe just get started with each of us introducing ourselves, your name, location, why you're interested in this. As I mentioned, I'll model that. I'm Edwin Rutsch, founding director of Center for Building a Culture of Empathy. I've been working on building a more empathic culture for the past 15 years or so. I've been working on this for the center. And Charles told me he had purchased this property and that he asked me if I would help develop it. And so that's why I'm interested in this. So Charles, do you want to introduce yourself?
Okay, my name is Charles Rutsch. I'm Edwin's brother. I purchased the property at auction. So it's our goal to develop it into a retreat center. I live in Sacramento with my wife and 4 children. And that's about all.
Okay, Francesca?
Hi, everyone. I'm Francesca Perel. I go by Frankie mostly. I live down the road at the end of Las Canoas Place, and I've just enjoyed the beauty of the seminary mostly my whole life, and just very grateful to be invited to this empathy circle today. And I'm happy, very happy, Charles, that you bought the property.
Sean?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Sean Mitchell, and I'm excited you bought the property too, Charles, and as long in need of what an incredible resource that Las Canoas can be for the community. A little bit about myself. I have been a Santa Barbara native for a little over 30 years, but at this precise moment, I'm up over near Seattle, Bainbridge Island, if you're familiar with that area at the moment. I go back and forth. I've been in the retreat center business, if you will. I worked at La Casa de Maria for about 10 years. You're familiar with that before the terrible free flow we had. And then I was graced with an offer to help launch a fabulous retreat center, brand new in Italy. It was newly developed by these 2 young Dutch entrepreneurs. So I put everything in storage and moved to Italy. And I'm so excited to have something come back in Santa Barbara. I'm really thrilled. I hope I can participate in any way. I hope I can contribute in any way. Thanks a lot for
Thank you. Kent?
My name is Kent Ferguson. I'm in the Zuni Mountains of New Mexico in my straw bale home that I love, but I did spend 35 happy years living in Santa Barbara. I started the Santa Barbara Middle School, where I was the head for 20 years and involved in the Institute of World Culture and the Santa Barbara Summit for Tibet, which led me to this property many years ago when we played with the idea of it becoming, if you will, a international but essentially Tibetan Buddhist monastery. This is my second empathy circle. I'm quite taken with all of this. I have high regard for honestly, for Edwin and his brother and what they're trying to do. So that's a bit about me.
Thanks, Kent. Louis?
Yeah, Louis Griggs. I live in Berkeley, California. I'm professionally been what's called a diversity trainer, speaker, coach for 40 years because when I got out of Stanford Business School, I realized my own ignorance was my biggest weakness. So I work with other white men, help us with cultural diversity consciousness. And with Sean, I'm a member of the Conscious Leadership Guild, and I also had done several of Edwin's circles. I love the empathy circle concept and experience. I put my son in Dunn School down just outside of Santa Barbara, and my parents retired in Montecito in their own home, and then when age got to them, they retired and deceased peacefully in their 90s at Casa Dorinda. So I got to know Santa Barbara really well. What a wonderful place. And because I'm part of consciousness development in myself and everyone else, I just love the purpose of what this retreat center could become. So I love to sit here with all of you and learn more.
Okay, great. So you're breaking up a little bit, Kent. You may need to turn your video off for bandwidth at some point. Right now, it's kind of at the edge, but just to give you a heads up about that. So far, it's working. So the mission of our center is to build a culture of empathy, which is really to raise the level of empathy in society. And one of the practices that we do is this empathy circle process. What we're about to do is one of the best first step sort of gateway practices really for developing sort of an empathic way of being, fostering listening. Everyone has a chance to speak freely, say whatever you want, ask any questions, nothing's off the table, and you will be heard and understood to your satisfaction. If you've watched the introduction to how to take part, there'll be a speaker. You'll select who is your listener. You speak, say a few, an idea or two, and then you pause, and your listener will reflect back their understanding of what you've said to your satisfaction. Check, did they understand it? If they didn't, say it again, maybe in other words. If they understood it, continue with your train of thought. We're going to have 4-minute turns, and I'm going to keep time, and I'll hold up something like this, maybe time, when your time is up. You don't have to stop right there. Just kind of finish your thought, in a sentence or two, get your final reflection, and then the listener becomes the new speaker. They select who they speak to, and we go like that for the time allotted, maybe about a little bit over an hour and a half, up to an hour and a half. Then we'll sort of open it just for open discussion without using reflection, just kind of, and then end with that with some time. So try to go for 2 hours, maybe might be a bit less too. That's quite a bit of time, I know. So our question, which I'm going to put into the chat here, is what is your vision for developing an empathy-based retreat center at 1964 Las Canoas, Santa Barbara, or whatever's on your mind? You don't have to stay on topic. If you feel really energetic about something, you're free to share that. And so as I said, I'm going to keep time, and I'll be the first listener just to model it. And who would like to speak, and I will listen.
I'll
Okay,
go.
Louis,
Because,
I'm
I'll
listening.
go because I love doing this with you, and it's good to be back in one of these circles.
Okay, I'm hearing that you want to go first because you really like this process and you're glad to be in one of these circles again.
Yes, in fact, given that I've spent 40 years trying to raise the diversity consciousness of others, especially straight white male executives, because it takes one to know one, no shame, no blame. I am fascinated by how this retreat center could, among all of the other things it does to serve, could actually be a location for a diversity consciousness empathy circle with executives. What a great idea, and I would love to be part of that.
So you're thinking about along the lines of your work with diversity training and with organizations, like how could the center be a center for that, for diversity training, and you'd like to be part of it?
Yeah, absolutely. I myself have learned that I get my most intimate professional, personal interactions outside of my tribe. Okay, and no judgment, but except for my wife and her kids and my kids, it takes me to meet a wonderful non-white male, and through which the learning through which I gain so much enhanced consciousness that I never would have had I not been able to empathetically hear and feel and see somebody of great diversity with whom I never grew up. It's really life-changing.
So you find it life-changing to connect with people who are different from you and to be able to empathize with them and to connect with them.
Yeah, it's much more fun than just playing tennis with all the rest of us.
Yeah, so hey,
Sorry.
so connecting with different people, people who are different from you is better than tennis. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, then I'll speak to Charles. Yeah, it's great to see Lewis. We'd been in an empathy circle before, and we'd met, for coffee here in Berkeley. So it's great to see Lewis. I know he had some health issues with COVID, so I'm glad he looks pretty good. Like he got through it, but I know I was very concerned about his well-being.
So you're very glad that Lewis is participating. You know him before, and you're glad he's recovered from COVID.
And in these circles, we've talked more about the vision for the space, but I'm setting up a nonprofit now for the Empathy Center, going through this nonprofit work, and they really talk about the mission more. So I'm starting to think more in terms of, we have the vision of a culture of empathy, but really what is the mission? And I just wanted to maybe speak a little bit more, about the mission, to kind of set that as kind of the one aspect, kind of a central aspect of the retreat center.
So your main focus is setting the mission, and you'd like to talk about that. And you've been working on creating a nonprofit.
Yeah, the center has not been a nonprofit, which I've done for 14 years. If I didn't want to do all the bookkeeping, it's been more of an association, nonprofit association. But now we need a formal nonprofit, and central to that, also to keep the, to kind of create the direction. You got to have your mission, and so that's what I've been really trying to formalize.
So your empathy work has been kind of a association, but now you want to up it up a level to nonprofits and make it more legitimate, I guess, more
formal, I think,
more
with the
formal,
IRS and so forth.
with the IRS and everything.
So the core mission, it's still the same. It's building a culture of empathy, which means through education, different initiatives, just to foster mutual listening and really nurture connection, which I think is just a foundation for greater well-being. If we can get people together, talking to each other, listening to each other, that's really, the core of just, the foundation for well-being.
So your core mission is to build a society of empathy, which you believe is core to a healthy, functional society.
Yeah, and it's great for conflict resolution. Like Lewis had done a living room conversation group, and where they just talk, they have a topic and they talk about it, but a conflict came up, and that process wasn't able to handle a conflict very well, So, so I said, let's do an empathy circle. And we did. The next day we did an empathy circle. It was just like, the people just were able to talk through using this process that we're doing now, and really kind of talk through those issues. So that's just an example. Yeah. of the power of empathy.
So Lewis was involved in a discussion group and there was some kind of conflict. And then you said, hey, let's use a sympathy format to try to resolve the conflict, and it worked out pretty good.
Yeah, I feel fully heard. That's my time.
Okay, I'll talk to Sean Mitchell. So my kind of vision for the center when I first bought it was maybe use it for men's retreats, women's retreats, couples retreats, church camps, youth camps. So that was kind of my main idea when I first purchased it. You can reflect that.
Hi, Charles. So what I understand that you're saying is that your original motivation and thoughts and visions and ideas for Las Canoas was to have it be a center that could host men's groups, women's groups, couples groups, camps for youth, camps for children, very family and very family oriented, it sounds like to me.
Well, I think my brother's vision is very much a part of that. And well, that's all I have to say.
What I understand that you're saying is that Edwin's vision combines well, it's right up the same vision in a sense that what you have, and it'll be a great combination.
Okay, I feel heard. It's your turn.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Charles. Francesca. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I'm excited curious to learn. And Edwin said something that kind of got some wheels turning around in how to flesh out a mission statement that for a nonprofit that would combine a mission for the retreat center in addition to the mission for his Center for Culture of Empathy.
Okay, I understand that you're interested in Edwin developing a mission statement to flesh out the project. Over.
Yeah, I guess too, along those lines, what popped up into my head was, you know, maybe another empathy circle that focused in on having, you know, people help him flesh out a mission statement that would combine those two foundational elements.
Well, I hear you, Shauna. That's a great idea to have another circle or meeting to help Edwin with writing a mission statement. Putting together an outline or something like that. That would be very helpful, I think. I hope.
Yeah, it feels like he might get lots of input and viewpoints if he had, I don't know, let's just say 3 or 4, and they could whiteboard out different, you know, ideas and ways to create a mission that had great energy in the words and great inspiration in the feeling and very insightful to the wonderful, I want to say, I keep saying foundational direction of a center that promotes a culture of empathy.
I hear you. And to synopsize, I think you're looking to help with some beautiful wordsmithing for a mission statement. Over.
I thank you, Francesca. I feel heard.
Thank you. You're welcome. Okay. So I guess now it's my turn to pick someone.
Yep.
And, okay. Kent, hi.
Hello.
I hope you're really enjoying this winter up there and that where you're living right now. And I was just wondering what you thought of would be, in addition to the empathy circles, what would help Charles and Edwin manage such a large property up there, in addition to the empathy circles, to maybe help them keep this place going and reasonably profitable, at least pay for itself. Over.
So Francesca knows I'm up in snow. In fact, it's snowing as we speak, which is why Edwin said my contact with you might get lost. And you are asking how I and others could help with the structure and organization of something this size. Did I get that, Francisca?
Yes, sir. Yes.
And it's back to you to share.
Oh,
You
sorry.
can continue. You still
Okay,
got
thank
3
you.
minutes.
All right. Do I continue?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And I think the empathy, what I was saying is that the empathy circle is a great idea and a retreat center. And if there's any other ways that you thought that huge property could be used to assess the family with making the place profitable or break even so that they could continue their intended mission on the mountain. Over.
And you're asking questions, I think, particular of me, which I will address when it's my turn. But at this point, you're concerned and hopeful that there are ideas that will help support this vision and make it sustainable.
Yes, sir. That's it. Sustainability would be a hope for the property. It's suffered over the years. It's a gorgeous place, very useful.
The place has suffered over many years. It's about 50 years old. It's never been owned by a local individual. And you think it's a beautiful place.
Yes, that's correct.
Is there more? Or if you're done, you can just, I feel fully heard or something like that, just to pass it on. So it's up to you.
Okay, I feel fully heard. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
And let's Sean, can I ask?
You're breaking up.
be my
Maybe if you turn your
listener?
video off,
Am I
Kent, you will have
coming-
more bandwidth.
Right.
Okay, Kent, can you speak? Just checking.
Not clear enough.
Are you there, Kent?
Kent, what I can hear is not much.
Right.
Nope.
Yeah. How am I doing?
Not good enough.
Me?
Get on the telephone, maybe. Is that right, Edwin?
I am here. If you can hear me, it's snowing. And maybe I should just listen, Edwin.
That's
We're
better
hearing
now.
you now. It was getting better. It kind of comes in waves. So
Yeah, go back off video and see if you can speak. And I'm the last one, so I guess I'm the one to hear you.
Now I just clicked on stop video, but I think you still see me. I'm new to the technology. Am I coming across, or shall we just?
it's working now. I just stopped your video from here. So if you want to speak and give it a try.
All right. Well, first, I'd like to say that Francesca, I'm very taken by the artwork behind you. It's quite fascinating. And I'd like to mention that, like many, I have been drawn to this facility for many years. And I used to think here is a place in search of a vision. And so I began to look into it, and I was mightily struck by Edwin's vision. And I thought, well, here's a vision in search of a place. So this.
Remember to pause if you want to give Louis a chance to reflect back.
So first I hear how enchanted you are with Frankie's artwork, and I didn't hear you ask if she made it all, but I, of course, wondering if she'll say yes or no.
Yes.
Yes, great. No wonder she's smiling so much. And then I felt and heard that you had almost the same passion for a potential vision for this wonderful facility. And therefore, when Charles bought it and Edwin came up with it, whew, it just lights your fires. You want to be part of it. Did I hear that correctly?
You did. You have that exactly. The theme that Edwin has sent for us today, I guess, is what's our vision? And honestly, my vision is to support his vision. I'm kind of taken with it, and I really feel charged to help if I can. And back to what Francisca raised, some questions. So normally in my life, I've been involved in many things like this, and I usually take the side saying, you guys and girls don't have enough vision. You're too busy talking about money and profitability and what's in it for me. And so my standard position is to say, no, you need to refine the vision. In my experience, well, I'll stop there for a minute.
So what I hear is that you've always been a visionary, and therefore, in addition to the passion that Frankie and Sean and others show for it, it's not enough for you to just hear that we need more money. You really want to be involved in creating the vision that Edwin has.
And that is correct, except what's a bit new for me is what normally was a minor thing has become a major thing. I feel that Edwin does not need my assistance with a vision, but he might profit from, as Francisco put it, more of the structure and the organization, which normally I would not dwell on. But in this case, I think that can be a contribution I could make.
I see. Thank you for clarifying with me and all of us that in addition to Edwin having this wonderful vision, that thanks to the questions that Frankie put up and others, that you see that there has to be more than just the vision, that there has to be a structure that helps run it and organize it and keep it functional, and that you might even become a part of that if we're all so lucky. How's that?
Wonderful. And Edwin, I feel I could keep going, but I feel fully heard. So that's it for me.
Great. And since I'm last, I just want to thank Edwin for proving to all of us.
First, like your listener.
Oh, you're my listener.
Oh, okay. So, okay.
Because we started with you. So I just want to thank you for proving to all of us, and it doesn't surprise me, but pleases me, that you even remember from 3 years ago when we met and I had this living room conversation conflict that was enhanced by using your method of empathy. I'm so touched by that, and equally touched by your memory that I'm a lucky survivor in 2020, not only of stage 3 cancer, but of 10 days under the ventilator where my wife was told twice they think they've lost me and couldn't bring me back. And so I'm very grateful to be here and very touched by just being part of Empathy Circle again.
Yeah, you're grateful to be here. You're also touched, I remembered, about our Empathy Circle that we did, as well as for what you went through with with COVID.
Yep,
And just, I think
You're-
maybe just glad to be alive too.
Yep.
Yeah.
you're proof that empathy circles work. Thank you.
And saying that I'm proof that empathy circles work.
I'm
Still have
finished.
3 minutes.
I'm finished. You
Okay.
take us where you want to take us next.
Okay. I'll speak to Francesca then.
Right.
Reset. Yeah, we've been doing a lot of these circles. We've been doing these on Monday with the Santa Barbara community, and then we're just starting now on Fridays doing them with the empathy communities. We have a large community who have been working on the, creating the more empathic society. So we're doing 2 of these a week. If you just want to reflect that back.
Yeah, so I understand that you're doing a lot of empathy circles twice a week and with the local community and then broader reaching.
And, it was just like Charles just purchased this place, a couple of months ago, and it was like just, called and said, hey, guess what? I bought a monastery. Do you want to run it? And I thought, whoa, I don't know. This is, it's just like, there's just so many unknowns. But by having these dialogues, talking to people, I'm just connecting with, so many of the community, connecting with Kent's been great. So I'm really starting to warm up to the whole, kind of working my way into it. So yeah, it's been good.
So Charles told you he bought a monastery and he's kind of putting you in charge of working things over with this huge, beautiful property. And you're wrapping your head around it. You're both wrapping your head around this space. Over?
Yeah, there's so much to do. I mean, it's just like, so much on the property needs doing. There's so much of what the vision is, what the mission of the space is, how do the neighbors feel about it, including the neighbors. It's just, there's just so much. So it is a bit overwhelming.
So there's a lot to wrap your head around. There's the neighbors, there's the space itself, the infrastructure, all the assets there. And it's a lot to wrap your head around. And I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, so we're slowly working my way into it. And I just have found the connection with Santa Barbara community has been just like really wonderful to connect with the neighbors. And it's been very positive. I think we had you up for the when we were there, came up for a visit, everybody's very supportive. So, I'm starting to feel better and better about everything.
So yeah, you invited the neighbors up and that was a very positive experience. It was wonderful meeting you and your brother with my daughter and my grandbaby. And it's a positive thing. I have a really good feeling about what it is that you're developing and planning. I have a really good feeling. Over.
Yeah, and what's next? So there's just, I think it's sort of an emergence, like through these dialogues, different ideas are coming up. So, we're here to, if you have any ideas of sort of projects or anything you'd like to do, like, Lewis is talking about workshops. I definitely, this is a space when we get the facilities set up to hold any kind of, diversity workshops or anything like that. So really want a space for an eclectic mix, even though empathy is sort of the center and we're actually doing it. Like we want to build the culture of empathy. We're actually doing it. The sort of the means are the end. So this is actually the means is also the end we're working towards. But we want, just a real variety of different ideas and projects and to implement there.
I'm hearing that you're interested and sorry. The place is eclectic and could have different uses and you're interested in soliciting ideas about potential uses for that place, as it has residential potential. It has a huge gym.
Mm-hmm.
It's got
church,
trails.
Chapel. It's got so many different aspects to it. Yeah.
It's got the most gorgeous chapel. I can't even believe the energy in that place. Over.
So, okay. Yeah. So I feel heard. That's my time too. So you can select your listener and it's your turn again for 4 minutes.
Okay. Hi, Sean. Back to you. You sound like you have a lot of experience with running the show for these types of things and are highly successful at that. And I hope that you can provide your sage knowledge to assist Edwin and Charles with their mission statement. Over.
Thank you, Francesca. You're saying that you sense I have some good experience around running retreat centers, and that you hope I can, contribute to Edwin and Charles as they move along the process, which I do want to.
Thank you. That's all. I'm not really sure what else to say next. I could ask you a question if you thought that it was a good idea to maybe mix temporary use like retreat centers where people go and have their empathy circles, along with maybe, renting part of it out for somebody that would give you income to live there. If that makes any sense in a situation like that, or is that a conflict and that you know of? Or
you're asking me if there's option, and you were finished, but then you have a question.
Yeah.
I feel that, thank you, that it's directed to me, but candidly, I'm not so sure. In any event, do I think that there'd be a conflict of interest in starting certain kinds of groups that could provide some income? And in addition, if I understood you correctly, is it possible to have a residence on the properties? As I think that's what I understood you to say.
Yes, I understood it. Is that outlandish? Is that an outlandish idea or inappropriate? I mean,
you're asking me if
yeah,
an outlandish idea.
It's zoned for residential, so as well.
If you're asking me, I want to reflect back to you because I'm learning how to do these empathy circles. So if I'm not answering your questions, because I'm attempting to reflect back.
That's exactly accurate. Yeah, you should just reflect back. And then once you're feeling heard, Francesca, you can say you're fully heard, and then Sean can.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I'm fully heard, Sean. Thank you.
Thank you too. I didn't want to seem dodgy. So I guess I will ask Charles if you're there. If you, in your planning, I'm curious to learn if you have a sense of timing in terms of being able to open.
So you're wondering what the timing would be when we could start and open?
Correct. Thank you. And I guess along the addition, I'm curious to learn then if you and Edwin, and I'm kind of thinking Kent as well, I don't know who the rest of your players are, if you've been able to start creating maybe, a structure / step 1, step 2, step 3, and so forth.
So you're wondering what the steps we need to take to get up and running?
Yes, and I guess I'm curious if you have talking about planning those steps.
I didn't, you kind of broke up. I didn't hear you.
I was answering, that's correct. And if you and Edwin and, like I said, Kent, I guess, and anyone else that you've got on your core team, if you started to create that list of goals and steps.
And so you're wondering if we've created a list of goals and steps to take.
Thank you. I'm heard. Thank you, Charles.
Okay, I'll speak to Edwin.
Listening.
Okay. So Edwin's kind of taking care of setting up the nonprofits. You can reflect that.
Yeah, in terms of the steps, I'm creating the nonprofit, setting up the nonprofit now.
So half of the property, the sisters' residence and the faculty residence, were renovated by the previous owners.
So you're giving an overview of the property that half of it has been renovated to the buildings, the sisters' residence and the staff area.
Yes, those rooms are empty. They just need furniture, but they're pretty much ready to go. We've been talking to the architect who did the previous renovation, and she just gave us a proposal for her work in renovating the dormitories and classroom buildings.
So in terms of steps, there's 2 buildings that have been renovated. They're ready to go, just need furniture. There's about 14 rooms there. And then you're talking with the architect about renovating the dormitory building.
So we're gonna set up a Zoom call with the architect and discuss her proposal. And then she would do the design work, and then we would get bids on renovating the dormitory and classroom buildings. And it sounds like that whole process until all the construction is done would take at least 9 months to a year. But and we also want to do some renovation of below the chapel. It needs new floors and paint and some kind of more attractive design down there.
So it takes about 9 months to a year to renovate the dormitories, and there's other projects too, like under the chapel, that area, putting new floors in and sort of a redesign of that area.
Yeah, that's all I have to say. I feel heard.
Okay, then Kent, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, I do. Yeah, so there's a whole list. We have a project website, which is sort of a hidden private website where we're putting together our to-do list. So it's kind of like we have to move on so many different fronts. The nonprofit, all the renovations is a huge amount. There were some leaks, we might need a new roof, so stuff like that, and all needs to be sort of laid out and prioritized.
So you're responding to some of the earlier questions, and you've created a project list, basically a to-do list. I'm not sure you used the word overwhelmed. No, but there's many fronts was your point. And you gave an example. There's some leaks. And so there's just a lot to be done, but you are making lists.
Yeah, and were some leaks, and the roof hasn't, is over 60 years old, and that seems to be about the time where it needs like a new undercoat. So it may take, re-roofing of everything. So that's quite a big project. So we're kind of really evaluating the project to see the property, to see all the things that need to be done, and then sort of prioritizing those things.
So you're realizing there's a lot to be done. At the moment, high on your list is the reality that you have leaks.
Okay, we're gonna put.
And and you may have to re-roof, which would be a considerable task.
And then there are about 14, 15 rooms that are usable as bedrooms that have been renovated. So that's already, and there's plenty of space for holding some kind of a workshop. So small workshops could already be held. I think Francesca was asking about the residential. Maybe that's, some people could be living there in those 14 rooms. So we're kind of looking at the possibilities there. So a workshop could be held and, people could stay or they could just come and use the space. So yeah, I think I'm looking at, instead of like, hey, in 1 year we have this grand opening, that it could be used incrementally and developed incrementally.
So even though you're well aware there's considerable work to be done, on the other hand, you're making the point, as did your brother, that there's 14, or I think he mentioned more, rooms which really are basically ready to go. So in the near future, if you wanted to, you could have some smallish events there on that side of the property.
Yeah, and we're looking for ideas. If you have ideas, it's like, we're lay out what all the resources are, having all the different rooms, how big the rooms are, how big the meeting rooms are. So, people will be able to start doing things, I think, once the things have been furnished, that those rooms have been furnished.
So you're kind of straddling a fence, whereas on half of it, there's jobs to be done and roofs to be fixed and leaks to be patched up. But on the other hand, you're already very open, looking actually for folks to say, well, I have an idea and I'm ready to bring my idea to you and let's do it. And while you're fixing the roof on the one side, I'll be doing my art or whatever on the other side.
Yeah, I feel fully heard. And that was my time.
All right. Sean, can I come back to you?
Yes,
Are you there? Yeah.
yes, I'm here, Ken.
Because thank you. You mentioned Casa de Maria, which I've had much experience with. I used to have many people go there, and although I know you're first.
You're breaking up there, Kent. One thing we can do is turn off our video real quick.
What I'm saying, when it's your turn, if you could, I'd love an update on Casa de Maria. I think it's non-functioning at this time after the floods.
Kent, you were
Edwin, if you're there, everybody seems gone.
We turned off the video so you have more bandwidth.
And Sean, did you hear my question?
Yes, I think I got most of your question, Kent. You were asking me, as a result of my years and experience with La Casa de Maria Retreat Center in Montessori, any knowledge of an update on the property and intentions of it coming back and so forth.
Yes, and if I'm coming through, Sean, the reason I asked that, I believe that Edwin and Charles would enjoy and would profit by knowing a bit more about Casa de Maria.
What I'm understanding you saying, Kent, is that you believe that Charles and Edwin learning more about Casa de Maria and its function, its template, the model it was, how it contributed to the community, and then of course, perhaps some underlying structure on how we operated and the kinds of groups and so forth we served would be helpful.
Exactly. I feel very heard. Thank you.
You're welcome. My turn, I guess, again.
Yeah.
Gosh, there's so many wonderful thoughts here in my desire to really learn more and become better at the process of your empathy circles. You know, I could ask a ton of questions.
Who are you speaking to is the first step?
Yes, of course. Thank you. Edwin, I'm
Okay.
speaking to you.
So I'm hearing you're curious about the empathy circle and kind of learning about it.
Yeah, and my desire to get good at the process with you.
Yeah, you have a desire to get better at this process and just sharing that.
I do, after what Charles and you were saying, I'm curious to learn if you need some kind of bill sign off. I don't know if it's the Santa Barbara, county, building county, renovation, all those parts. That's a lot in order to be able to have small workshops. Yeah.
Yeah, you're wondering if there's some kind of a sign off needed from the county to hold any kind of a workshop there. So you're just curious.
Correct. And along similar lines, which I personally feel that in terms of programming, you're going to have no problema at. However, at the moment, I'm curious to know if the meeting room that might be available, if you've had an opportunity to look into how that they might get, new audio visual technology, which is critical nowadays.
So you're wondering about the meeting rooms, if it has current audio, video, just kind of what are the resources for the meeting room, and it holding workshops. You think through the city that Scott could be a problem. I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah, your programming, well, people will come running, I feel. And then do you, with the potential of having workshops and people there soon, assuming that your kitchen and dining facility will at least have a rudimentary capacity for serving everyone?
Yeah, so in terms of workshops, what's the state of the kitchen and the dining facilities? So just kind of wondering about the facilities, the capacity.
Yeah, I just want to say that, I'm over the moon for the whole thing. And thank you, big time, grateful to be part of your process and to learn that you're going to be doing this.
Yeah, you're over the moon for that. This center is going to be developed, and grateful for the process that we're doing.
Yeah, and thank you also for being so incredibly transparent. That's big.
You're really appreciating the transparency that we have, and it's a big aspect of it.
I'm heard, Edwin. Thank you.
Okay, great. Louis, could I speak to you? Yeah, you're muted.
Yes, I'm present and visible and now even unmuted.
Unmuted. So yeah, there's the facilities. There is, like I said, like 14. It could be more, spaces for overnight. I think the kitchen needs a lot of work. It hasn't been used in a long time. So I think that's going to take a lot of work to get it up to whatever code or whatever, I would imagine,
Yeah. Yeah, so I hear that the kitchen is one of the first things that needs to be updated and pretty fully because age doesn't go well in kitchens, you know?
Yeah. It
And
is
yet
all
the-
stainless steel, so,
Yeah, you want to update it from stainless steel to whatever is better now. And
no, I
yet,
think stainless steel is pretty good. So,
oh, good. Then we'll update it to stainless steel.
it is already
Well-
stainless steel, yeah. So.
I also hear that there's places for people to sleep and that those will be easier to update, but at least there's the gift of all of that space.
Yeah, I lived a year at Esalen, so one of the things I did was work in the kitchen. I washed dishes, and they have the same Hobart that I used, the dishwasher that I used. So I know how to use a dishwasher.
I've been at Esalen often over all my years here, and so I've seen that kitchen that you remember that you even worked in, and you even know how it's set up, and you could manage setting up this one just as well.
It's not the whole kitchen, it's the Hobart, which the Hobart is a dishwasher,
Ah,
yeah.
and I had to be educated there because I couldn't remember that about the Hobart because I didn't know about the Hobart. But
Yeah.
at least the dishwasher, you know how to manage, put in and manage.
Yeah, so right now, Charles and I were up there, several weeks ago. We started clearing out the area under the chapel. There's a big recreation room, storage room, sort of a nice workshop room that all needs renovation. But it was like a storage space, just full of all kinds of, old beds and furniture. So we moved everything out, cleaned all that out, and we're kind of in the process of sorting it and getting one of those big dumpsters to haul off the stuff that we don't need and maybe hold a garage sale or something for some of the other parts. I think
I can relate
Francesca
to-
said she would help with that too.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, I hear and can relate to all of that. By emptying the huge storage unit, there are things that can be given away, dumped, maybe even sold, and some of them even utilized throughout the process, throughout the whole territory.
Yeah, the other thing is we've been holding these circles, and I'm trying to look at like a process for ideas. Like I think Sean has great experience with retreat centers, would like to follow up. So I'm kind of looking at a process for how do we kind of do follow up or idea sort of development. How do we, we have these circles, but kind of what are some next steps that we could possibly do to continue the relationship, kind of maybe work together. So
I'm fascinated by this. The process of having these circles alone is bringing up several people with lots of wonderful ideas, and now you're wondering, how do we now take all those great ideas and some of these individuals like Sean, who seems like she's ready to start helping to run the place tomorrow, as does Kent. I mean, you've got a great team here. And we could be filled with Frankie's art. So, Charles,
so
you got a wise brother here. Go.
And so with Kent, we just started emailing, having a discussion. Now we've formed sort of an advisory council. We meet weekly, for the advisory council. So maybe that's something, with Sean would like to join to kind of give her advice. So I'm looking at, how do we go from the discussions to kind of little baby steps, next steps. So
yeah, you're wisely using these circles not only to get ideas, but to help and find people who can contribute, but to go ahead and begin that process. So I didn't know, but I'm glad to hear you already have these weekly meetings, and Kent is already part of that. And so I hear you think, wow, maybe even Sean sounds like a perfect person to become part of that. It sounds like a great idea.
yeah, I feel fully heard.
Great. Wow. Well, Sean, why don't I speak to you? If you can get visible.
Yeah.
There. I love that. I love that this has happened. One of the things I've learned through one of my 3 near-death experiences, I won't go into the details, that's not what this conversation is about, but when doors start to open that we ourselves had nothing to do with knocking on and making happen, wonderful things can evolve. And therefore, in these circles alone that Edwin has created, because his brother has bought this place, we're having ideas of how any of us, and maybe each of us in different ways, can contribute to the success of this property.
Yeah, thank you, Louis. What I'm hearing you say is, well, kind of the process that Edwin is utilizing to gather ideas and to formulate his vision is super cool, and bringing together all kinds of individuals who are, professional word, pumped to participate and contribute and share ideas. And yeah, I said before,
It's okay.
reflect.
Yeah, if I heard correctly, I heard earlier not only that you have not only huge experience in doing exactly the tasks, the being and the doing that might help this place run, but that you're interested in doing that. And then I even heard Edwin think that he also hears that, and that you might be interested in becoming a part of this, and at least part of the weekly advisory committee that he and Kent and others have set up. Did I hear that correctly?
Well, I'm reflecting back to you what you thought you heard correctly. And that's that. Perhaps, would I be interested? They would be interested in perhaps including me in more of their meetings based on my experience and what I could potentially share with, just not just ideas, but my, expertise in that quote business or industry.
You heard me perfectly. And in addition to that, I had no idea before this meeting that, wow, I might really enjoy being part of creating some workshops there on diversity, and in fact, empathy, using empathy circles as part of the diversity workshops, because to have a straight white guy like me sit and talk to a Black woman or a trans man or any of our human diversity, and listen to who they are and what they're feeling and thinking, and to mirror it back, is an amazing learning opportunity for diversity consciousness, human consciousness. And I'd love to be a part of that.
What I'm hearing you say, Louis, is that, the circle today has opened up this whole new vision for yourself on being a wonderful place for you to host workshops on diversity, and that the empathy circle process, I might not be expressing that properly, is a phenomenal process and exercise that would be awesome to use for diversity workshops.
Yeah, absolutely. God, I feel not only really heard, but really excited. And I'm closed. And you get to say how wonderfully I just said that.
Bless you, dear.
Right, then, yeah, you get to choose now.
I guess I overspoken over. So I guess I express now to Kent.
I'm here if you can hear me.
I can hear you, Kent. Thank you. In fact, you sound good now. I can hear
Good.
you clearly. Well, from what Edwin shared before, I'm getting choked up. I would love to contribute, and I would love to participate. The retreat centers are my passion. And when I feel deeply and so full, I get like this. So means that, feel like grace is shining on me. So I wanted to share that.
And I'm chuckling because instead of me breaking up, now it's you breaking up, but in a different way. And your words and your whole expression is clear that this is close to your heart. This whole idea of retreats has been for many years, my guess is decades. You really feel it strongly, and you've made that clear.
Yeah, thank you, Kent. I feel that it's going to be enormously successful. Our times, there we go. Our times need retreat centers. Our world needs retreat centers, and especially after COVID, when everybody and everything went into lockdown, retreat centers around the world had to learn how to do the Zoom online thing and how to do workshops online, and yet trends are shown. Oh, we'll stop there and then continue after that.
So you're sharing but with both your words and your passion, how strongly you feel about this. You do not seem to have any serious doubts that this is needed. In fact, quite the contrary. And you seem very confident that this is going to succeed, that there is a need. You didn't use the word market, but there is if he builds it, the people will come, is kind of what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I am. Thank you, Ken. And then trends do indicate that people want to go back to on-site, we call them, in terms of off-site. They want, workshops, retreats, and gatherings because there's that human touch, human interaction that's, Zoom has been a really great tool, but people still want to interact with each other. And people really want to come back to on-site gatherings.
And you're pointing out that probably always people have wanted to interact, but with the virus, that really went south. And now you feel like even more than, say, normal, there's a need for this and a desire for like face-to-face contact versus Zoom contact.
Yeah, I'm heard for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Francesca, your picture's not up. Are you there?
I'm there. I was just trying to reduce bandwidth use, so I turned my picture off. So.
Okay. Well, I won't have much to say, but I'd like to speak to you, and so I'm happy to now find out that we all know what Edwin's role is, and he can be the dishwasher. So that's great. And I might mention to Louis that although you mentioned that near-death experiences are not the topic, you might like to know that in Santa Barbara, every week there's a meeting at the Unity Church that focuses on that subject. And it's a very alive subject.
Okay, I'm hearing you that you're pleased to find out more about what Edwin is planning, and that he knows how to use a dishwasher. I do too. I worked at Alexander House. And I'm so sorry, but I kind of missed the last half of that.
The other half of that was that he even heard when I had near-death experiences that in Santa Barbara there already is a weekly session on that. And I want you to know that, yes, I've been a keynote speaker there before.
Oh.
And you're right, we could even have sessions like that up in this new location.
Yes, exactly.
All right, that's what you couldn't remember, Frankie. So
Okay, thank you. I hear you now.
okay.
And is it Frankie? Would you prefer Frankie to Francesca? May I ask?
Yes, please. Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
All right,
I do.
Frankie. while it's my turn, I would like to very much echo what others have said, that I find this whole situation to be remarkably transparent. Frankly, I find Edwin to be remarkably transparent. And I just think that's a good building block. That's a good foundation.
If you want to reflect that, Francesca, you're still a listener.
Oh, I have to admit, I was looking at my dog who wants to be taken outside, so I'm sorry. You weren't properly heard.
You can just say
Oh.
it again, Kent.
Francie, I was just mentioning that I'm struck in a positive way about the transparency of this method and of the gentleman leading it. And I find it to be a wonderful building block.
Okay, and I'm hearing that you're struck by Edwin's transparency, and it's a great foundation for this, a building block. Is that correct?
You have it. You have it. I
Thank you.
feel very heard. Thank you. And then I'm also a dog lover, by the way. I have 2 here, so I'm sympathetic to your challenge. But it is your turn.
Yeah, she's staring at me right now to let her out. So anyway, so it's my turn, and I just wanted to say to you, Charles, are you on mute? Are you available?
Are you there, Charles? He was at a car dealer. Oh, there he is. Oh,
Okay,
you're
hi,
back
Charles.
home. Great.
I'm here. I just got back home. Yeah, I had a nail in one tire, so I needed to get that fixed.
So I hear you. You got a nail in your tire, and you got to get it fixed.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say congratulations on your purchase, your fine purchase of what a great deal you got. And that's over. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm very encouraged that that everybody in the community is so very positive, and so far I haven't heard a single negative word from the community. Everybody has been very positive about it.
Wow, I'm hearing that you haven't heard a single negative word from this community. I just think that's amazing. Wonderful. And that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Well, we could open it to any general discussion now, without using the active listening process, like to get started with that. So maybe we'll take any general comments or anything. I don't know, Charles, since it was your turn, do you have any?
No, I don't have anything to add.
I do. I just want to thank you both, Charles, for the purchase and Edwin for doing this process, because not only, as I already said, does the process, even though you know very well, and I've told you, it does, the only downside is it takes extra time to repeat things that you've already heard. And I don't mean but, and you keep proving to me that it's worth it, because what we get in exchange for that is really feeling heard. And what we get in exchange for feeling heard, we open further
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
share more.
Yeah.
It's just, I just love the process. And I just thank you. And I also just love the feeling that I said that the unexpected reality that we now feel and experience among one another. And you're obviously feeling this, I hope, with every single session, that you are developing the ideas and even the groups of people who can help make it all happen. And just to have Sean sitting here and Ken sitting here, who just love this idea. Wow, you've got part of your team being developed right in front of us.
Yeah, publicly too, since it's recorded.
Yeah, exactly. Publicly, exactly. And I even, once it's all ready, I even maybe get to enjoy being a part of one of the programs there, but that's in the future. Right now, I just love that it exists and that you're renovating it and that you're finding the people to help you proceed further. Such a gift to be part of this process. Thank you.
Well, the vision is building that culture of empathy through education and other initiatives. So the empathy circle is just the starting point. It's the first step. It's not the end. It's the beginning and can go in any directions. It's very effective for just learning to be a listener. Therapy is pretty much based on listening. It's good for just well-being, when people come together and hear each other, it just increases your well-being, as well as the healing. If you're, dealing with emotional issues, it's sort of the process for that healing, as well as heading off conflicts before they happen. And if they happen, one of the practices in the center is to bring any issue into an empathy circle to discuss it. So we have the forum for any type of conflict resolution. And if you're familiar with human-centered design, the whole design process is pretty much based on the first step being empathy, that anything that you design, you need to empathize with the needs of the people you're designing for. And that's sort of like the first step into creativity and innovation. So yeah, I guess I just iterating the benefits and why this is the sort of the first step process.
Oh, thank you. You sure added words even better than I could have, because all of that is true. And in addition to that, look, we're sitting here and Sean goes to tears feeling like she's being called to something that can be part of her future, and it feels just as good to you and to Kent. It's like, God, I'm so touched to be present with such a transition. Thanks.
And just jumping in here, that I fully agree with all that's been said. I'm touched by it, and but actually to take for a minute the other side of what Sean said. So I'm a junkie for information, and I want to check things out. So here I come across this empathy thing and this Edwin guy, and I really want to read everything, and I'm going to go on the internet. And if he says check these 5 things, I will. And at one point he says that he believes this could impact the world. And my first thought is, this guy's an idealist. I mean, let's just get Santa Barbara squared away, and you're already talking about the world. But within 5 minutes, I thought, no, he's onto it. And the reason I'm going on about this is to connect this idea to the world. That's my point right now. And so I hope that, and I know it'll happen, because look, just look at this style. He's got all of us on a screen, and this will all be on the internet in 12 hours. And this is global. And I hope one thing that happens in another group, somebody mentioned a Zoom room. And so there'd be this place that is reaching out to the world. And although I, like all of us, in some ways would rather be face to face, I think this thing could emanate out from Santa Barbara to the world through this kind of approach.
And I want to add to that what you already know, all of us already know, and that is that unlike most wonderful retreat places, which are hours, 1 to 3 hours away from an airport.
Yeah.
And understandably, because they get you to a wonderful place away from everything. We all know that actually Santa Barbara is about the only place I can think of that has an airport right there that happens to have almost always perfect weather, wonderful geography, incredible human spirit, and consciousness. And what a great location for a retreat. I've been to one before there with academics were flown there. Executives were flown there. And I spoke to them, and they just, it happened to be at that location right on the water next to the Four Seasons. I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, the location of Santa Barbara up on the hill, even where this obviously is a wonderful, wonderful source. for such a consciousness raising activity. I'm pleased. Thanks.
I do want to piggyback on what you said, Louis, because, you know, I was living in LA in the mid-'80s, and my husband and I would go take little day trips, and we ended up going to Santa Barbara one weekend, and I just was like, oh my God, I hear God speaking to me, move here. And my husband's like, yeah, right, Sean. Before you knew it, by 1990, I was living there and raised my sons there in Montecito and so forth. So I have to tell you, you are so right on. Not only is there a world-class university, the feng shui, the energy.
Yeah.
You drive to Santa Barbara, you get past, say Ventura to the coast there, up from LA, and like a curtain drops in the energy field. And you're right about the tribe of conscious people is enormous. And of course, all the things that we talk about in terms of that it's got a great location and the weather's good and there's enormous beauty. There's a very distinct energy. I mean, look at how many Catholic back in the money, you know, they're putting up, you know, novitiates for girls to be nuns and seminaries for guys to be priests and so on and so on. And yeah, but there's also a wonderful interspiritual community at La Casa. We would have these frequent, we even made gardens. We had an Islamic garden, we had a Buddhist garden, we had a Jewish garden, and we would have the, you know, local rabbi and the imam and dawa that you met, Edwin. And then there's the Vedanta temple. There is one of the few Vedanta temples in the, there's only a handful, and one of them is in Montecito, the Vedanta temple up there. Anyway, I could go on, but it's perfect. It's great. It's a little pricey there, you know. Yes, we know that. But in terms of what you said earlier, and I think Dawa said this in an earlier meeting too, the light beaming down from your property is going to be like so radiant, such a contribution to people.
You know, thank you, Sean, for all you said. And one of the things you said and opens the door for another thing I would like to say, and that is, not only is it a wonderful location in spite of its cost to get, let's say, white male executives there and have a consciousness raising session for them, in this case about conscious leadership that definitely can't be experienced without diversity being more fully included as part of their leadership and their own self-interest. So that's the white male workshop. And what a great location to bring diverse people who typically can't afford as much and not charge them as much in this nonprofit up on this hill, to have an ability to attract human diversity to a place they hardly ever get to, and to experience the empathy of being seen and being heard. Like, oh, I'm really touched.
Yeah, one of the things that we did frequently, and I could name off different groups, but we listen to me, La Casa de Maria, if you're familiar with Homeboy Industries and Father Boyle in LA, where he created this organization and group of gang members. So we had these things where every year this organization out of Los Angeles brought gang kids. That's just one example of serving underserved people. And these kids, you know, this was an enormous gift.
Yeah.
Anyway, you're
Yeah.
right. I think there was an earlier, I mean, I know there was one of the earlier circles where I think Charles and Edwin talked about having the capacity for being able to provide free, complimentary, whatever, the certain groups,
Yeah.
scholarships and things of that nature.
And I thought of another thing. I love this process. Somebody, two of you, Kent and Sean, were talking about residential potential because it's currently zoned that way. I don't know if actual residents there would conflict energetically with all the rest that's going on there. I don't know. However, what I do know, and you all know better, is that it can be, if there's enough space up there, some of it can be the location of other nonprofit entities that work with, complement it really well. We've had that example up in San Francisco, where I've been here for the last 46 years, on the what was once a military base, the Presidio, is now mostly a home not for private residences, but for other nonprofits of various constructive, wonderful serving energies. And so that kind of space, if there's enough of it, might be a wise way to have regular income from them paying to be there. Another idea.
And going back to Santa Barbara, here I am 1,000 miles from Santa Barbara. I am within 50 miles of 5 Native American reservations. My neighbors are Tibetans. My next 3 neighbors are all called Lamas, and there is a 5-story high stupa next to me. But as you can all tell, I love Santa Barbara. I'd like to tell you a little story. Years ago, a Lakota Sioux named Archie Fire Lame Deer, one of his grandfather is a great famous Sioux teacher, was in Santa Barbara. And I met him and we had spent time together. And as politely as I could, I said, why are you not up in the Dakotas, honestly, helping your people instead of being in lovely, beautiful Santa Barbara? Of course, I was as careful as I could be, and I was sincere. And he answered, he said that in the Lakota Sioux tradition, Santa Barbara is very special. And he said, you call it God, we call it the Great Spirit, but the Great Spirit does not make mistakes. And all the major mountain mountain chains in North America go north and south, the Appalachians, the Rockies, the Sierras. But in Santa Barbara, the mountains that this seminary is on, called the Santa Ynez Mountains, run east and west.
Right.
And at the end of that mountain range is what the local Indians call the Western Gate. And this is where one leaves this dimension and enters another dimension. For children, that you dive off the point called Point Conception, and when you dive into the larger sea, you've entered a larger world. And he said, our prophecies say that that there will be a what I would call a sage, I don't know what word he used, who would be there, and it would be talked about 4 centuries from now, that a new movement started on the west coast of North America. I can tell you that the Tibetans and His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama have essentially the same vision. And the question has been, is that actually San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego? But some would say Santa Barbara. So these are just, I love myths and stories, and are they right or are they wrong? You choose.
This is fun. Could we just please all have lunch together and continue?
So we're doing these circles ongoing. You're welcome to join more of them too. Sean's joining us in 2 weeks, right? We're doing a circle, and I'll send you an email about the advisory council, and we can talk about that and kind of just keep the conversation going. If you know others that would like to take part, I think we don't have people signed up for next week yet. So if you want to do some circle next week, bring some other people in. The Mondays ones is the ones that Charles is attending, and on Fridays I'm sort of opening it up to our empathy community. So we have a large community that's sort of organized around empathy circles, the empathy movement. So kind of getting their feedback on for their vision for the space, and so it's an ongoing discussion that we're gonna have to develop the space, just kind of keep the dialogue going. So yeah. I don't know, Francesca, any thoughts? You still there, or did you have to take your dog out for a walk, or?
No, I didn't take my dog out. I stayed here. I just took myself off video. I was just thinking that maybe that was a good way to create bandwidth. And my thoughts are, let me know when you want to do a garage sale. We can maybe advertise, take some pictures, advertise it on Facebook Marketplace or wherever, and I'll go up there and help you with a garage sale. I don't know if we have to put prices on things, and although I don't have I work as an environmental scientist, so I don't have the business acumen that a lot of you do for this field. But all I can say is I'm very supportive of it, and I'd like to help if I can, in what limited way I have with my resources. So, and I'm here in the neighborhood. I'm close by.
Great.
So.
Yeah. Well, we're have all the sorting to do. I'll be going up in a couple of weeks, and kind of starting to address some of that. I'm trying to work through the nonprofit, kind of get the ball rolling on that, and then the next top aspect, once that's kind of set up, will be dealing with all that furniture. You were up there, you saw that we have the dining room and the recreation room are just like full of furniture. At least half of that needs to be tossed out, and there's a lot of other rooms that are full of mattresses and all kinds of stuff that we're going to be getting a bin to kind of haul, just really kind of clean everything up, sort everything, and yeah.
I have a question for you. Oh, sorry.
No, mine's more trivial, and then we'll come back to you. It's more important. Edwin, you said you're going up. I can't remember. Are you in LA, San Diego, somewhere south?
I'm located in Berkeley, El Cerrito, right next to you.
Oh, you're here.
Yeah.
Then you mean you're going down there?
I would go down. Yeah, I guess I would go down. Yeah.
No wonder you confused me. I thought you'd been here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm in El Cerrito.
Frankie,
yeah,
you're
right
back
next
on.
to Berkeley. Are you still in Berkeley, or?
I'm in Berkeley. Yep.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Frankie.
I was gonna. Oh, sorry, Frankie.
Okay. I had this idea. I was in the big where the nuns had their quarters. It looked like you already had a setup for a kitchen in there, where all you could need is like a cooktop and a microwave and a refrigerator. And before you even renovated that great big huge stainless steel kitchen, you could have a little situation there where people could cook without taking that huge kitchen on to update it. It could be really quick. And if you wanted to stay overnight and reside there while you were doing your work there, it wouldn't probably take too much, to get a little kitchen going in there that's completely functional for whether someone wants to live there or stay there temporarily. That's
exactly. That could be for like a workshop. People could, not have used a big kitchen, because that's going to be an issue. So that area is, pretty. That's an extra. There's a meeting room, a really nice patio there, and then a little kitchenette type area that could be set up pretty quickly. There is also the staff quarters. It's called Building 2. That also has a room like that, and there's the groundskeeper is actually living there with his family, And there's another room in the back that's very similar, and they actually have a little kitchen there with refrigerator, hot plate,
That's-
and so forth. So
That's
there's
good.
two places, two buildings that
Oh,
can kind of be
okay.
used that way already.
So is Kane still the caretaker? Kane?
No, it's
No, okay.
Christian and Jose.
Okay,
Who,
all right.
the other person that was there left. I think somebody said he was getting, I don't know what really happened, but said one thing, one of the projects was to turn into a homeless sort of re-entry
Right.
center. The neighbors really didn't like that. There was a lot of protests.
Yeah,
And supposedly it kind of freaked him out that he got kind of paranoid living up there by himself and just
Right.
all that kind of stuff and left. So we haven't heard from him.
oh,
So
good for him. Well, I met Kane because I used to ride horses all over that neighborhood. And when he started being a caretaker up there, he really missed his family in Mexico. He was stuck up there in that hill all by himself. So, that's good that there's a different family up there now. He's kind of
Yeah.
relieved of his duty up there on that hill alone.
yeah, they've
But
been
yeah,
there a long time. Christian, he's been there for 15 years, been involved in that space, so
Oh.
he knows it pretty well.
Okay.
He took part in Empathy Circle too. I think he was in Empathy Circle, the last one or the one before too.
Yeah, oh, really? Yeah, and your beautiful library, I know that they used to have, I don't know if AA pays for their meeting space or not, but every weekend AA would meet in that library. I remember that too.
Do you know how long ago that was?
It would have been no more than 2 years
Oh,
ago.
okay.
I don't know who owned it at the time, but they was still having, must have been the most glamorous place to have AA meeting in the world.
Hmm.
Up there in that beautiful library, but yeah, it was every weekend, and I would say it'd be no more than 2 years ago.
Oh, that's good, because we talked to the person who did the property report there, and he mentioned that for keeping the conditional use permit active, you have to at least every 6 months have some kind of a workshop, use the space, and that he had advised the owners to have something going on. So I imagine they probably did that to
Keep it going.
one because they want to do a treatment center, two, to
Yeah.
keep it the conditional use permit active. Yeah.
Interesting. Good.
Is there any other questions about the space or anything that we can answer? Yeah, Sean.
I was just curious. I'm wondering if there aren't a number of organizations in, I'm going to say greater Santa Barbara area that could use some of those pieces of furniture. There's shelters, there's homes for, women with children. They need to be secret because they're from, an abused partner. I wonder if you couldn't give a lot of it away, which I don't know if you care about a tax write-off as a donation, but at the same time, I think it would be a super win-win in terms of, PR, whether that's something you want out there soon, or if you'd want to hold on and then, have it be announced later. But it would be like a real win-win if you could give that away. And if you needed help, I might be able to come up with a list of organizations area that might be like really honored and delighted to be able to have some of those pieces for the people they serve.
Yeah, it'd be good to have a list. My partner Joan, actually, she was thinking about that too. So she checked out like the Catholic Charities and some others too. So having a full list would be good to have as a
Happy to
possibility.
collaborate with her if she'd
Okay.
like.
Great. Okay, any other questions or comments or before we close?
My comment is thank you so much, everyone. Lovely to meet you all and super grateful to be here. This is Lewis and soon in one of our word calls. And yeah, God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Okay, any
God bless you
closing
as well.
comments, Louis?
Yeah, I did thank you already, you and Charles, I did, and Sean, and Kent and Frankie too for being here. But Sean, I want to thank you personally for your own intuitive, call it spiritual sense. It wasn't just left brain thinking this might be a good idea. You felt the energy, the potential energy of this place and how it might fit with your own passion. And I just love feeling that grow out of you and then here and then God knows where, it's like bingo. Thank you.
Okay, Francesca, any closing comments?
Just blessings to everyone and looking forward to the future for this project and this organization, and just hopefully it's getting all your ducks in a row, piece by piece, measure by measure. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Kent.
Most of my life, I've followed hunches, and I have a hunch that this is a really good thing about to be born.
Thanks, Charles. Final comments?
I just want to thank everyone for your participation and your passion and your desire to see this project be a success.
Yeah, I'm grateful for everyone taking part. Like I said, this is an ongoing discussion. Join us, next week or the following weeks. Invite your friends and keep the conversation and going. And the empathy flowing. So, okay, with that, I'll say goodbye. Maybe get a jazz hands. We'd like to, Kent, are you there?
I am here.
Can we get your video real quick? One of the things we do in the empathy circle, yeah. Let's see if we can get your ask to start video. I don't know.
It says the host is asked. Okay, I'll do it again.
There you go.
Okay.
Great. We just get our jazz hands. It makes a good picture for the screenshot for that. So okay, well, bye everybody. See you soon. Good to see you again,
Great.
Louis.
Hi.
Ciao, ciao.
Nice meeting you all. Bye-bye.